I'm Sam, Frankie May's dad.
And I'm Bree, I'm Frankie May's mum, and this is our little Peggy. We decided we were going to wait until we got back from our Canadian holiday to try to get pregnant, but we decided we'd have a little test run, and here was Frankie.
So Canada was our first hospital visit, but it was also the first time we actually got to see our little Frankie, and she resembled a little dino nug, but it was an incredible moment for us seeing our first child and being able to forecast the future and know that we're going to be parents. We would have been roughly 14 weeks into the pregnancy, and that's when we started having our more frequent, you could say, hospital visits with abnormal bleeding.
There was never really an explanation for why I was bleeding or where it was coming from. I remember we went in on Sam's birthday and they did a swab to check if they could see any amniotic fluid leaking, and unfortunately in our case there was, and that was really the start of our intense
Hospital journey. They
said to me, get your things, you're not leaving until you have a child, and when you're 19 plus 6 weeks, that is a very scary thought. So essentially what the diagnosis was, something called PPROM, which is pre-labour preterm rupture of membranes, which essentially means your waters break early. You know, they said you're probably going to go into labour within 24 hours, and I just thought, no, we're not going to do that.
We weren't giving up. So
at 19 plus 6, if Frankie was to come, there was nothing they could do for her. So viability age in Australia is 22 weeks, which is like the absolute minimum. That journey from when we were admitted at Wodonga Hospital to getting to 22 weeks, that was such a big milestone for us, because those 2 weeks felt like an eternity. Sitting in that hospital, just waiting, hoping, praying that we don't go into labour, it was really tough. But then the next hurdle came.
She was loaded into a plane and flying down to Melbourne. Then I hit the road and we arrived at the Mercy at the same time on Mother's Day, and then that's when our journey started in Melbourne.
At about almost 4 weeks, there started to be some markers on my blood tests and things like that to indicate that maybe infection was brewing. I vividly remember the doctors coming in and saying, you're having a baby tonight because you've got an infection.
I think it was 3 big pushes and little Frankie was delivered, and it was quite confronting seeing her be delivered and how small she was, and her skin was all transparent, but straight away the incredible staff did what they needed to do to ensure that Frankie had a fighting chance.
Straight away, as soon as she come out, that cord was cut and she was placed straight onto the resuscitation bed, which was literally 2 metres away from me in my line of sight. For 23 minutes, they tried to intubate her. You can imagine as a new parent and you've got your firstborn baby, waiting 23 minutes to say, hey, it's all good, we're breathing for her, she's okay, was like, it felt like 23 years for us. It was really traumatic. It was, something I don't wish upon anyone. They had 5 attempts and they got her intubated on the 5th attempt. I honestly don't know how she was alive.
Yeah.
Because
it was quite confronting.
It's not the experience you think you're signing up for when you get pregnant, is it?
So I was rushed up to the NICU and Bree was taken down to theatre. And then being up in the NICU, there was heaps of staff all working around Frankie, hooking her up to little drips and getting her all settled into her new home that she'd be staying in for a while. And just watching her, I'd ask the questions I needed to ask to sort of understand what was going on, and being able to sort of learn quick to be able to advocate and speak for little Frankie.
Went up to the room, tried to get some sleep. Half an hour later, she came in, rushed in and said, we need to get you guys down to level 2. Frankie's not doing well. This was the most terrifying moment of my life, I think. Yeah, they wheeled me down in the bed, and I remember Dr. Andy, the poor man, I just knew. I sort of made eye contact with him, and he looked at me and he said, Bree, I'm really sorry. Frankie's really not doing well. We think she's about to pass away. Do you want to hold her? You either had the choice of keeping her on her machines and maybe she might pull through, or do we take her off? Sorry, now I'm getting emotional.
Or it was either take her off and hold her and be with her while before she passed away.
They sort of gave her to me, like they were all sort of holding her, but her skin was on my skin, and I just remember like crying and telling her I love her and whatever, and then she came back.
It was a miracle.
It was a miracle. That was the first of a lot of downs.
But also a lot of ups.
We were so grateful that she was still here and that we didn't have to say goodbye to her that night. It was actually 4 days post Frankie's birth that I got to hold her for the first time. Mind you, it took 3 nurses to get her out, to make sure none of her tubes moved. Like, she was extremely fragile and she weighed just over 533 grams at this point. I had a really lovely cuddle. We got our first family photo together, which is terrible lighting. We looked like shit, but
still
it was
special nonetheless.
Look, Frankie did quite well for the first 2 weeks, didn't she?
Yeah.
The nurses and doctors too are just incredible. Every baby in that NICU has a 24-hour nurse, one-to-one care. These nurses became like, honestly, family. They were our therapists. They looked after our daughter when we couldn't. That was one of the hardest things, is like we would have to go home at night, and having to leave your baby in a hospital and leave it up to someone else to look after them.
And then not know if something's going to happen while you're gone, or...
Is actually just, like, it goes against all maternal instincts.
So Frankie was 2 weeks old and we were pulled aside into the butterfly room by some of the consultants, and we were told some of her medical circumstances which she had faced. So she had a brain bleed, two brain bleeds, her lungs weren't coping with the ventilator and she wasn't able to breathe on her own, and everything was piled on us, and we were basically told that within 48 hours Frankie probably was going to pass away again. Hearing that the second time round, we sort of just went, nah, she chose to be here the first time, she's going to choose to be here again, and she's going to push through. The
doctors sort of said at the Mercy, we don't really have much option. She can't stay on the current ventilator because her lungs aren't coping. So yeah, they had what's called a jet ventilator available at the Royal Children's Hospital, and she was a perfect candidate for it. So we said goodbye to the Mercy and ended up at the Royal Children's Hospital, and let me tell you, that hospital is like the Rolls Royce of hospitals. It was
a very special place.
Unbelievable, like the facilities that they have. It just makes, like, if you ever have to use that hospital, you will be so thankful that you previously gave to the Royal Children's Good Friday Hospital appeal.
So our time in the Royal Children's was probably the most positive time we had with Frankie. It was just nice to create these memories there and have more cuddles with her because there was less cords attached to her and she was a bit more accessible, and we actually got to learn to do a lot more, like change her nappies and give her little baths. And
I actually celebrated my 30th birthday when we were at Royal Children's Hospital, and I got to cuddle her for 4 hours. My 30th birthday will go down as it will go down as the best birthday I've ever had. It was just like heaven on earth. I could have just stayed there forever.
When it did come time to actually having a proper cuddle, like you're holding your daughter for the first time and being on your chest, you sort of go, this is what being a dad's all about, is like holding your child and loving your daughter.
Probably the biggest milestone we had when she was at the Royal Children's Hospital was her moving to CPAP. And it was like the first moment that I really felt like, hey, we might actually get to take this baby home.
Once Frankie was moved to CPAP, we were eligible to be transferred back to the Mercy because her care on the jet ventilator was finished.
It was a little bit scary going back to the Mercy. It's where we had the birth, it was traumatic. Then she got sick, it was traumatic. So coming back was really nerve-wracking, wasn't it? And we were like, oh, we just hope that she stays on this trajectory.
Yeah. We went back and we were there for 2 weeks, and then Frankie's stats with all her saturations, which is the oxygen levels in her blood were starting to drop, and she was almost taking steps back and not progressing forward.
By this point, I knew Frankie very well, and I knew what she was like and what she, what was normal for her and what wasn't. I said to the nurse, something's not right. We need to talk to a neonatologist. She'd already given us the talk about, Frankie's starting to go back the other way. Perhaps her body is not exactly where we need it, and her lungs are a lot more damaged than what we originally thought. I started to know in my gut that if Frankie was going to come home, it was going to be an absolute miracle. But I just knew that she wasn't. And this is where we really started to see her decline. And I said, she needs to be intubated now. I don't want this to become an emergency. It needs to happen now. And that's what happened. You could just tell Frankie was not happy. They'd started to muscle relax her, and she was on morphine and all of these drugs to sedate her, and she just wasn't her. She didn't look the same.
She was battling a lot. Yeah, you could tell that she was tired. So we're sort of given another talk about Frankie's outcome. This would have been the third talk we've had, and this time round we sort of knew that it was getting to the point where Frankie wasn't going to be able to keep fighting. Dr. Gemma said to us, make a list of all the things you think are important to you guys in terms of memory making. So we sat down and made a list. We knew we wanted our family to be involved, and we wanted her to experience outside. We wanted to capture memories through little photographs with her. And what else was there? We did a picnic.
We had a picnic.
We actually got to sleep with Frankie. So they set up a bed for us, and we had a night with Frankie in the bed.
Yeah, we tried to cram a week's or a lifetime's worth of memories into a week, and I'm really grateful for that time. And
same here.
I'm sure you are too, because not the memories that we have with Frankie, a lot of them were very traumatizing, and to have those memories and be able to look back on them now is just like priceless, to be honest. Yeah, we had to switch from hopeful to being a realist, like almost overnight. And we knew that we had, they said to us, it will always be your choice of when we turn life support off. I think for us, once you've watched your daughter struggle for so long, it was almost like, when the time was going to come, it was almost a relief for me.
Yeah. We got to hold Frankie and got to see her without any little cords or her breathing tube in, and we just got to nurse her off until she had passed away. But it was just nice being able to see her with nothing on and see the beautiful child she was. And we spent time with little Frankie and washed her and got her dressed in a nice little outfit, and just spent that last bit of time with her. Got her all ready to be cremated and take her home, because we didn't want to leave her down in Melbourne. We knew that regardless, even though our outcome was her passing away, we still wanted to take her home with us.
And we've really just tried to, get back to a normal life, but all the while try to, keep her memory alive and say her name and ensure that people knew who Frankie was. We also found out in February that we were expecting again. It's actually been a really healing experience for us. We can't wait to bring little Bobby into the world. We decided to give her pretty much her formal identity at the same time that we gave Frankie hers, because we felt like it helped us connect with Frankie a lot more. We're really grateful for all the charities and things like that helped us when we needed it most. But us fundraising and stuff, it's our way of giving back. The greatest gift we got was time with Frankie. We could have definitely not got that, but we did. And we got to know our baby and love her and get to know her personality and what she looked like and things like that. There's so many families that don't get that opportunity, and we will always continue to repay that back in whatever way we can. to the hospitals that looked after us, the Mercy, the Royal Children's Hospital, Wodonga Hospital. We can't thank you all enough.
So thank you.